Hey y'all, welcome back. I've been thinking recently, and have you ever realized that you've gotten busy and you started missing your life? Or you were waiting for a situation, you were waiting on that job, or you were waiting on something to happen, and you put everything else on hold until that thing happened? Well, it hit me hard when I realized this. Time is the only thing we can't replace. Once it's gone forever. That day, that week, that month, those 6 months. It reminds me of that movie Click with Adam Sandler, where he wanted that promotion to help his family, but then it took him 2 years to get the promotion, and he skipped the remote control in the movie helped him skip 2 years of his life, and he missed so much of his kids and his wife's time for 2 years. So what are you sacrificing? And I'm not saying sacrifices are bad. I get sacrifices are important when you want to be successful and things like that. But at the same time, are those sacrifices worth it? Because time keeps moving forward, whether we move or not. And I told somebody this recently, and it really hit home for me at the same time. If you have a decision to make and you can't choose left or right, so you don't choose anything. Guess what? You're still choosing. You're choosing not to move, which is still a choice. Because a lot of us in this world are busy, but sometimes busyness is just noise. I get working a job or owning a business. I get raising your kids and being with your wife. But on the other side of that, have you ever got so caught up with stuff that you miss out on your kid's game, or you miss out on certain things? Think about that. Because I've watched people who owned businesses or worked a job, and they'd work 40, 60 hours a week, and then they'd come home on weekends and wash clothes. And I know some of this stuff has to be done. They would wash clothes, pay bills, do yard work. They would do chores around the house. And then they'd plop down in front of the TV that night and not spend time with their family. And the fact of it is that your kids are growing up. Your kids are only going to want your time for a short period of time. Eventually, they're going to stop asking for your time, and they're going to want to build their own lives. Because no tombstone ever says, I wish I'd spent more time at work. Because honestly, we justify everything by saying we're doing it for family, working, grinding, providing. And when we're not at our jobs, we're still working. Chores, repairs, errands, upkeep, yard work, cleaning, schedules, projects, always busy. And yes, it feels responsible. It looks honorable. But we take the most important things for granted. Time with our parents, our kids' childhood. Because like I said earlier, kids don't always ask for our time. And eventually, when they become teenagers, they stop asking. And then they become adults and they build their own lives. They won't always knock on your door. And while you're still doing everything that feels urgent, we're losing the people who are irreplaceable. There's two songs that stand out to me. And one is a very old song. Both of these songs are old, but this one's a little bit older than the second one. It's called Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin, if I'm saying his name right. It's Chapin. And part of it goes, when you coming home, Dad, I don't know when. We'll get together then. The father says that from the time the son is born and keeps saying later. And the son grows up watching distance instead of presence. And then when the father finally retires and feels like he has time for his kid, and when the father finally asks for time, the son responds with the same excuse. Dad, this new job's a hassle. The kids are sick and too much is going on. I got to go, but I'm sure glad to talk to you. The son became exactly who he watched his father be, who never had time for him when he was growing up. And now that the father finally has feels like he finally has the time, the moment is gone. There's no restoration. There's no second chance, just regret and an empty chair. Then the second song came out in the late 80s, early 90s by Billy Ray Cyrus, called Busy Man. And it's the same situation where there's a kid. He's like, I'll be there in a minute. I'm a busy man. Same cycle of business and excuses. But the beautiful part about this song is that he wakes up before it's too late. He chooses presence over performance. He breaks a cycle instead of repeating it. What I love is that the job calls him and says, "Hey, we need you down in Birmingham." And he's like, "Nope, can't do it." And I'm paraphrasing. He's like, "Nope, can't do it. I got plans with my kids and a date with my wife." He turns his job down to spend time with his family because we only get one life. And I'm sorry to say this, but and I know this is gonna come off dark, but that job you're working so hard for, if you drop dead, they'll be like, "Yeah, he was a great employee." And before you're even put in the ground, they'll have somebody else in your position, and they'll be forgot all about you. While you're sacrificing the time with your family to be on that job. And I'm not saying working is not important because we have to provide. I get that. But are we putting more time into our jobs versus spending time with family? Because those chores and some of the things that we put before family and stuff can wait. And with technology these days, technology does almost everything as far as chores go. You got dishwashers, you got washers and dryers. So it's not like you have to wash clothes by hand or wash dishes by hand anymore. So you have extra time. Or are you buried in your phone? Or are you buried on the laptop or TV in front of a TV? Or are you out there in the yard playing with your kids? Or taking your wife out to dinner or on a date? What are you doing with your extra time when you're not busy? So there are two endings. Catch in the Cradle offers regret. Lost time, a lost relationship, no second chance. The song Busy Man, however, and I recommend that you go check out both of these songs. They're both really good songs. Busy Man shows repentance. He shows awareness, change, reconnection, and restoration by the end of the song. Both songs are about losing time, but only one ends with change instead of regret. So ask yourself, what really matters? Because God, even through real relationship, gives wisdom, knowledge, perspective, and presence. Because think about this. You could rebuild money. You could rebuild opportunity. You could rebuild that house. You can replace those clothes. You can replace those toys, whatever it is. You can replace that car. But you can't replace presence and you can't replace time. Because we've only got 18 years to influence our kids. And by 12 to 13, our kids are wanting to start going out and making friends and spending time with their friends and doing their own thing. So we might have 10 to 12 years to truly influence our kids. Granted, we have them till 18, but that last 7 to 8 years, they're starting to branch out and become their own person. Think about that. And James 4:14 really hits home with this. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little moment and then vanishes. So I'm gonna ask this question. We're not promised tomorrow. So if you were to look back at today, are you proud of the person you were today? Did you spend time with your family and let them know that you love them today? Or when you're gone, are you going to wonder, did they really know I love them? I hope they know I love them. I hope they know that what I was doing was for them. Or are you just going to be gone? I know that sounds cold, but are you going to wonder? And think about this. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven." So we only get a time, a moment, and a moment is gone. It reminds me of this other song called Time Marches On. And time marches on whether we move or not. Proverbs 27:1 It says, do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what the day may bring. So what are we sacrificing? Because one day, the chair your dad or your mom sits in will be empty. One day, your child will stop asking for your time and get married and have kids of their own. One day, you'll want to fix what you lost, and you won't be able to. You may ask for their forgiveness. They might say, "I forgive you," and you may talk on the phone or text a little bit, but are you really spending time with them? No, because they probably have their own lives by this point. And when you finally feel like you have the time, the moment may already be gone. Because I've heard so many people say, well, I sacrificed to live with my parents until my business took off and I became a millionaire. Okay, great. Being a millionaire is awesome. But did you miss your kid's childhood? Were you there for your kids during that time, or were you too focused on making money? There's nothing wrong with money. You need money to make the world go around. I get that. But what was it that you didn't like about your parents? Were they always busy? Were they not available? And ask yourself, are you repeating the cycle, or are you choosing to break it? So in closing, I'm going to give you this thought. Why don't we stop hiding behind "in a minute" or "I'll get with you later"? Because sometimes later never comes. Choose what matters before the people you love become memories. Because I knew a guy, and it's sad, but him and his wife already had a couple kids, right? And he was a young guy in his 30s. And him and his wife had just had their third baby, like a month or two before. And one day, he gets up to go to work, pulls out onto the road, and a car hits him and kills him. He never even got to see his his children grow up. We're not promised tomorrow. Keep that in mind. The moment you waste, you might not get a second chance. We should live every day like it's our last. And if today was your last day, if you knew today was your last day, what would you do? Would you spend time with your wife and your kids, or your husband and your kids? Or would you do something else? Would you go on that trip? And I'm not saying be reckless at all. I'm saying prioritize what's important before it's too late. But that's all I've got. I will see y'all in the next one.